Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for another one of our webinars. Today, we are going to be talking about key steps to transition success. There is a lot that happens when your loved one who has some kind of an intellectual or developmental disability turns 18. When they turn 18, benefits change, rules and regulations change. There's a lot to know. So we want to help prepare you for that time, whether it's in a couple months or a couple weeks or a couple years. We want to help you know what to look forward to. So thank you so much to Tracy Johnston. Sorry, she is with the Next Step Transition Center. Tracy, after you tell us a little bit about yourself, I'll go over the other housekeeping items and whatnot. But please take some time to tell us about your center and what you guys offer.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tracy Johnston, and I'm the owner of Next Step Transition Center, which we provide HCS and Texas Home Living waiver services. We're a licensed individualized skills and socialization provider, which is formally known as day habilitation. And I'm excited to say that we are going to have a ISS uh, day program coming to Missouri City very soon. So I wanted to share that with you all. And I also wanted to share that I came out of the special education uh, public education system. And I had, I'm glad we're talking about transition today because that's why I started Next Step Transition Center. As a teacher, I had many individuals for, 6 years, 7 years in my classroom and got to know their families very well. And just knew that there was a big need for programs, for educating the parents, for advocating. And so I just took a leap of faith and left my teaching position so that I could help with the transition process. And I'm
Fantastic. Thank
glad to
you.
be here with y'all today.
We are glad to have you. Thank you for sharing us with your audience, and we are excited to share you with our audience. I actually live in Missouri City, so that's really exciting. Where will your center in Missouri City be located?
Well, we are talking with a church right now that has offered some space for a day program. So I don't want to give out too much
Okay.
until we have some finalized plans, but we are in talks with the local church there to utilize some of their space.
Fantastic, fantastic. That would be great. Well, thank you again for joining us. I just want to let everybody know that we we do record all of our webinars. Later on today, we will email you a link to this recording, plus all of these slides. So you will have this information later on today in your email. Any links that you see throughout the presentation, like the one on the bottom of this slide, will be clickable when you get these slides later on today. I am Michelle Morris. I'm with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a holistic financial planning firm that focuses on helping families who have loved ones with some kind of a disability. Now, one more thing I want to let you know is that because we're in webinar mode, I can't see or hear any of you participants. I see that there's a number of people here. I know you're out there, but I cannot see or hear you. So the very best way to give us comments or feedback or ask questions is to put that in the chat box. And I will get to as many of your questions as I possibly can. I do see that we already have one or one comment. Um, But yeah, we've been doing this for about 30 years. We are located just outside of Houston in Sugar Land in Missouri City. We help families with life insurance and investments and securities. And we help families that are all across Texas and all across the United States. Because of the internet and Zoom, we can work pretty much anywhere that we need to within the United States. So it doesn't matter if you are in Sugar Land or Houston or Dallas or El Paso or Idaho or Indiana or wherever, we can help you and your family navigate the nuances of special needs planning. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we're nationally certified as Social Security advisors. So we take this very seriously. Um, we are also working on becoming chartered special needs consultants, which is, another more letters we can put behind our names to show you how hard we work at this. But really, it's important to build out a good team of experts for yourself and your loved ones. We help families with their special needs planning, protection plans for their families, thinking about life insurance and disability protection and things like that. Lifetime care, we help families with a future care cost estimate where we're looking at if your child or your loved one is unable to take care of themselves completely and be independent and have a full-time job, how are they going to pay for their lifetime care needs? So we look at those potential costs and we let people know what that looks like and how that money can be um, saved. And some of those things we'll be talking about today. A lot of transition planning help for people, what benefits you need to sign up for, when you should do that, how it all works. We help families with ABLE accounts and understanding special needs trusts and their investments and where you can keep money for your loved one where it will not affect their other benefits. And of course, we are here to advocate for you and to educate you so that when you're going through all of this, we clear out a lot of the noise and clutter that's out there and help you really focus in on what the most important things are for you to do for your loved one. Fewer than 0.1% of all the financial advisors across the United States focus on special needs planning. So what does that look like? There are over 263,000 financial advisors in the United States. But out of those 263,000, fewer than 200, that's it, not 200,000, just 200, focus on special needs planning. So it's really important that you have people who know what they're doing because that it could really take a toll on your child's benefits. So it's very important that you work with a company that focuses on special needs planning like we do. So we're going to talk a lot today about various things that you need to do to get ready for this transition phase, when your child is going from public school or high school, even if it's a private school, whatever, out into adult life, so to speak. There's a lot that you have to think of and a lot that happens all at once. The first thing that we would like you to consider doing is developing your own letter of intent. I'm going to talk a lot more about this in the next couple of slides, but you should definitely have a letter of intent in place. You should work with a special needs planner like us or anyone who does this to help you formulate a plan for your future. The sooner that you start planning, the more of an impact that you can have on your entire plan. So it's really important that whether your child is, an infant or a toddler or, in their teens or an adult, now is the time to get started with planning. Don't wait. And work with an estate planning attorney who understands the nuances of special needs. We do keep a list and we refer our clients to attorneys who can help them with the legal side of planning. That would be things like your will, your special needs trust, if guardianship is in your future, or maybe you just need supported decision-making agreements or power of attorneys. Those are the types of things that an attorney will help you with, and we can refer you to one in your area who focuses on special needs planning. So the first thing to do when you are thinking of um, putting together a plan for your future is to get out what you've already started. You know, we want to look at any planning documents that you already have in place. What legal things do you have set up? What retirement plans do you have in place? Savings plans? Uh, do you have a 401k? Do you have a pension plan? Do you have life insurance? What life insurance do you have through your work or through a private insurer? What 529 plans do you have? When you're going somewhere and you're using your GPS, of course, it has to track where you currently are in order to get you to where you want to be. And that's kind of the same thing that we have to do with planning, is we need to know where you currently are so that we can help you get to where you need to be. And think about, as you're going through the planning process, we really want you to think about your vision of what you want the future to be for yourself and for your loved ones, and involve them in the process. Involve all of your children because, you know, they have hopes and dreams too. Just because they're younger or the next generation doesn't mean that everything that you think is what they want. So involve your children, get to know what they want for their future, and see how you can build that in. So let's talk about that letter of intent. Now, this is an important piece in planning for the future because what happens if, gosh, it would be awful if this happened, but if something happens to you and all of a sudden the main caretaker is not here anymore for your child. Now, this could be mom or dad. When I say main caretaker for your child, who comes to mind? Is it you? Is it your partner, your spouse? It could be either one, but there's always someone who knows the most about the child. And that person, if they're not here tomorrow and someone else needs to step in, that's where this letter of intent comes in and will be very, very helpful. It is not a legal document. You don't have to have it notarized or set up by an attorney. This is just kind of a love letter that you write to your family and to that person who might need to step in. It ensures that your successor guardian knows what they need to do. They know your child's functional abilities. They know their routines and interests and your wishes for their future and their particular likes and dislikes. So in my previous life, I was an English teacher, and the English teacher always pops out during this part of the presentation because people say, oh, I can't write, or I don't know how to do that. Well, what I would suggest is that you open up a Word document on your laptop and start with the facts of your family and your child. Who are the siblings? What medical history does your child have? And you as parents, that might be important in the future. What government benefits are they receiving? Who's the doctor? What meds are they on? That kind of stuff. Start with the facts. And then that will eventually lead to the other things that you want to talk about your family, like their personality, their habits, what they like to do for fun, what they absolutely do not like to do. If I step in to take care of your child tomorrow and I serve them spaghetti for dinner, and you didn't tell me that spaghetti is their most hated food and they throw a tantrum and there's spaghetti all over the walls, something like this could have prevented that situation for me. And you never know. I mean, but someone stepping in would never be able to understand all of the details that you know about your family. You can talk about spirituality, the values that you want for them. How do you want them raised? Is there a religious background? Who are their legal guardians? Is there a special needs trust? What planning do you have in place? Is there a power of attorney? Where is this important information located? Who are your trusted contacts? Who's your team to help you in taking care of your child? And things like that. So I would suggest that you open that Word document, you start writing. This is not something that you're going to put together in an hour. This is something that you'll spend some time working on. And then what I want you to do is print what you have and put it in some kind of a binder. Maybe you have a Go binder for your child. Maybe you have a binder where you have printed out other information. Put this in that binder, maybe on the top. And then as your child grows and evolves and your family grows and evolves, you get back on your computer and you change this document. I want you to read it over at least every year. 6 months might be better, but every year at least, you're going through this, you're updating items, you're changing what their favorites are and what their dislikes are. And then you print the latest version and put it back in that binder and throw away the old one. You do not want this to be stuck on your computer behind 2 or 3 passwords where nobody knows that it exists. Because if you're gone, you need this to be available to the next person who is going to try to help out your family. Another thing that people think about a lot and worry about a lot is, how is my child's care going to be funded in the future? We kind of think that, while you're here on Earth, you are going to pretty much be paying for your child's care out of pocket and with programs that are available and things like that. Once you're gone, you need to have money set aside in a special needs trust that can help pay for your child's future after you're gone from the earth. But a lot of it has to do with those benefits that they can get. It's a very big help. And you need to make sure that you preserve eligibility for the state and federally funded, programs like SSI, Medicaid, Medicare, SSDI. So by putting money into a special needs trust, the programs will not count that money against your child. Of course, there are asset limits and income limits to those programs, but money in the special needs trust and money in an ABLE account will not jeopardize those benefits. So those are 2 places where you can have money for your child. You can have both of those types of accounts, and we'll talk about what they are and how they work a little bit. And things like your life insurance, your investments, your bank accounts and other assets can go into the special needs trust so that it's there in the future once you pass away. I don't see any other questions yet, but feel free again to put those in the chat box. SSI is what you want to apply for when your child turns 18. So before your child is 18, you can apply for SSI, but you're probably not going to get SSI until your child turns 18. And here's why. When your child is a minor, the Social Security Administration will look at the parent's income and the parent's assets. Now, the income limit for SSI for 2024 is $1,550 per month. So if the parent is making more than $1,550 a month, they will not qualify for SSI benefits. The child will not qualify. If the parent has more than $2,000 in assets, one house and one car. It can be 3,000 if the parent is married. Then the minor child will not qualify for SSI benefits. Now, when your child turns 18, the government will look at their own income and assets at that point. And if your child is not making more than $1,550 a month, and your child does not have more than $2,000 in a bank account with their name on it, then they should be able to qualify for SSI benefits. Now, they do have to be deemed as disabled by the Social Security Administration. But as long as they are deemed disabled and they have a disability that began before age 22, as long as they don't have $2,000 or more in their name, and as long as they're not making too much money on a monthly basis, they will be able to get SSI benefits. So you can use this link to apply for SSI online. And what you want to do is right when your child turns 18, log in and get that application started. These applications can take months to be processed, months and months, like almost a year to be processed. But they will backdate your payments to the day that you got started on that application. So that's the good news. If you start that application on their 18th birthday, that's when the clock starts. They want you to have evidence that does demonstrate that your child has a disability. So you will need information from your doctor. You'll need that physician's name, address, phone number, your child's history of what their diagnoses are, what medications they're on, and what those medications are for. If your child is working, they're going to want to know about the employer and see checks, pay stubs. And they're also going to want to see your child's bank account if there is one. And you might want to talk to your primary care physician, well, your child's primary care physician, before you start this process and take a look and see what is in your child's records and make sure it's all there. That way you can know whether or not there's enough information in there and whether or not it's all correct in order to get them approved for their SSI benefits. Like I said, this decision can take a long time unless your child has what is called a presumptive disability. There is a list of some disabilities where they just automatically say, oh, okay, if you have an IQ below this, we pretty much know you're just going to be approved. If you have this kind of disease, we know. If you have this diagnosis, we know that you're just going to be pretty much approved right away. And your file will go through a lot more quickly, and it will be beneficial to you. So after you get your file, your application all put together at your local office, you always want to talk to your local office, not the national office. But your local office will get your application file together and then send all of that information to Austin to the Disability Determination Services. DDS, Disability Determination Services, will look through your file and your doctor's reports and your bank information and all of that and double check and make sure that you qualify, and then that there's proof of the disability, and then you will get approved. You can call DDS and ask them, do you have everything you need in that file? Who is working on my case? What's going on? Have you received all the medical records? Yes, you can ask them all of those questions. And at DDS, they actually do answer their phones. So that's a good thing to know. Someone in the chat box says, I heard you can lose your SSI if you work too many hours. Well, it's not really a matter of how many hours you're working, but how much you're earning. And again, that amount for this year, for 2024, is $1,550 per month. So if you work more, you earn more. You just don't want to go over that $1,550 a month. So you're going along, your child has been receiving SSI hopefully since they were about 18. When you get SSI, that comes with Medicaid, so they've been on Medicaid all this time. And then all of a sudden, you as a parent are in your late 60s and you are ready to turn on your retirement benefits through the Social Security Administration. Okay, are you with me on this? This is when a parent applies to receive their Social Security benefits in their late 60s. Maybe they are just ready to turn them on. Maybe they've become disabled, something like that. At that point, your child will begin to receive SSDI. It's based on your record, your work record, and your child will be able to get half of whatever the amount is that you receive when you turn on your Social Security retirement benefits. So let's say you've been working all of these years and you turn on your Social Security when you're 68 and you start getting $4,000 a month payments from Social Security. Your disabled child will get $2,000 a month based on your record, and you will still get your $4,000. It does not take away from what the parent gets as a benefit. If you pass away or you turn on your retirement when your child is still a minor, they will also get benefits. So that's great. But this is when your child is disabled, they're beyond age 18. Hopefully, like I said, the timeline goes SSI first and Medicaid on that for several years. And then later in life, they'll be able to go on to SSDI. Now, 24 months after your child starts receiving SSDI benefits, they're also sometimes called CDB, Childhood Disability Benefits, things like that. After they're on that for 24 months, they will start getting Medicare as well. And then at that point, they will be dual eligible for both Medicaid and Medicare. Now, further on down that timeline, when a parent passes away, that child's benefit will go from 50% to 75% of whatever the parent's full retirement age benefit was. Okay. There are family maximums, and it's hard to know what those would be in a forum like this. We have to do a whole analysis to tell you what the maximums are and all of that stuff. That it could, if you have more than one person drawing from a parent's record, situations like that. However, we can help you figure all of those out. And that's another benefit that your child will receive for the rest of their life. There's a couple questions in the chat box I want to address before we move on. So first of all, my son is currently receiving $947, but you mentioned SSI is $1,500. No. That's a mistake. I'm sorry. The current amount, the current benefit from SSI, the full benefit amount is $943 a month. If your child is over 18 and not working and they don't have too much savings, they should be able to get $943 a month benefit from SSI. They cannot earn more than $1,550 from working and still be able to get SSI. If they make a little bit at work, that's fine. It will reduce the amount of SSI that they get, but the cutoff is $1,550. Okay. Who gets the remaining 25%? When that parent passes away and the child gets 75% of their benefit, the government keeps it. Nobody gets that. Come on. It would be great if somebody could, but unfortunately, no, the government just goes ahead and keeps that, unless there are spousal death benefits. So it's really important that you make sure that you have these things in place so that your child's benefits won't be denied. So for example, your assets and your child's assets have to be in the right places so that they don't have too much, or you don't give them too much, and then all of a sudden they can't get their benefits. So that's why I said it's so important to have a special needs trust and an ABLE account, because those are two places where you can have money for your child that will not count against their benefits. You need to make sure that, if you have a life insurance policy or any assets, bank accounts, investments, things like that that you have, you do not have your child listed as a beneficiary. So most people, what they do is they would say, okay, well, if I pass away, everything is going to go to my spouse. And then if my husband, Andy, isn't here anymore at that point, or when he passes away, or if we both die at the same time, everything would be distributed evenly between our children. That is what most people say in their beneficiaries, is that first it'll go to the spouse and then evenly amongst the children. But if one of your children has a disability, that is absolutely not the right way to do things. You might need to say, okay, I have two children, Jacob and Evan. 50% is going to go to Evan and 50% is going to go to the special needs trust for the benefit of Jacob. Because if you list out your child who has a disability outright and they get a large chunk of money, all of a sudden their assets are over $2,000 and they're going to be cut off from benefits. So anytime you list your child as a beneficiary, you have to make sure that you're listing their special needs trust and not to the child directly. And it is really important that you let other family members know about this rule, because it's awkward to talk about money with family members. We know that. And you never want to assume that they're going to leave money for your child. But if they do it improperly, it can cause headaches. And they don't want to cause headaches for you, especially if they're trying to help you by leaving money to your child. So have this discussion and make sure that any well-meaning family members also know that they should not leave money directly to your child. It should go to their third-party special needs trust. Okay. So make sure that your money is in the right buckets, that you have the special needs trust established for their future care. Again, that would be through an attorney. The attorney will help you with the legal framework to get it set up, to get the paperwork all signed and ready to go. We, or a financial advisor, will help you understand, where is that money going to come from? How do we fund that special needs trust? A lot of people use life insurance for that, because life insurance will transfer to your heirs tax-free. So that's a really good option. You can put a little bit in and leave it to the trust for your child. That's a really good way to do it. So again, talking to an attorney who focuses on special needs topics and estate planning is a great next step, because the special needs trust has to be set up. You might want guardianship. Guardianship, that process can begin when you are within about 6 months of your child turning 18. And we've done a webinar, I think we did one just last week, where we talked about guardianship and alternatives to guardianship and how that all works. So feel free to go to our YouTube channel to check out all of our past webinars. I'll give you a link for that later. But you definitely want to make sure that you're working with a qualified attorney who focuses on this. It is so important. You don't want just anybody. I mean, maybe your neighbor is an attorney and they're like, oh, I'll do that for you for cheap. I can do that. It's not that hard to figure out. Well, maybe they can. And maybe they are a great divorce attorney, but it doesn't mean that they understand guardianship. It doesn't mean that they understand special needs trusts, and all the nuances related to these topics. So make sure you have proper guidance. Another thing, okay, the ABLE account is another important thing that I want to dive into a bit deeper here. So the ABLE account is very, very similar to a 529 college savings account. As a matter of fact, an ABLE account is another section of the 529 tax code or whatever they call it. This is a 529A for ABLE, or you could have a 529C for college. So the beneficiary of the ABLE account is the owner of the account. And the income, so what you do is you're putting money into this account. There are fees that they take depending on what ABLE account you go with. They charge fees, they invest the money, and then that return on the investment, that income is not taxable. So you can set aside money in this account. The account will grow over time, and you're not taxed on the income from that. So that's really cool. Unfortunately, there is no federal tax deduction for putting money into the ABLE account. Now, some states might offer a statewide income tax deduction when you do your taxes for contributions to the ABLE account. But, since Texas doesn't have income tax, they're not going to give you a deduction there. Again, this is set up so that people can have some savings without jeopardizing their benefits. And there are limits on contributions and how you can distribute that money. So from the ABLE account, you can pay for really almost anything that is for your individual with a disability. ABLE actually stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So if you can say, this helps my daughter achieve a better life experience, then you can use the money from the ABLE account to pay for that thing. And this will not cause a reduction to their SSI, even if you use the money for food and shelter and utilities. And that's a very important distinction that we're going to get to in a second. But anyway, you can pay for special needs planning, financial management, transportation, education, training, assistive technology, cars, computers, clothes, vacations, anything that makes your child's life better. Now, when I say vacations, I'm talking about like your child and one caregiver. You can't take your 10-member extended family on a trip, but you can pay for your child and one caregiver out of the ABLE account. So the ABLE account is for anybody who has a disability that began before age 26, and they don't need documentation the way that the Social Security Administration needs it for SSI. Remember, I was saying you need your doctor's information and you need this and that. When you sign up for an ABLE account, you just sign an affidavit that says, yes, my child has a disability that began before age 26. They can come back and check. So far, none of our clients have had that happen, but you have to follow the rules. In terms of contributions, now you can put in $18,000 into the ABLE account for 2024. It is limited because, it's not taxed. It's they don't want you to have millions and millions in untaxed money sitting over there. But whatever the gift tax annual exclusion is for the year, that's what the limit is going to be for the ABLE account. So for 2024, you can put in $18,000. You can put in more money if your child is working. But the thing is that you never want your ABLE account to go above $100,000. This is an account where money is going to be flowing in and out. It is a save to spend. You're not going to put money in there and ignore it for 30 years and let it grow and grow and grow. You're putting it in there to be able to use it eventually. Money is going to flow in and out. There will be over $100,000 flowing in and out of that account, but you should never have more than 100,000 at a time in your ABLE account. There are no taxes on your distributions or on the growth. There's no penalties as long as you use it for your child who has a disability that started before age 26. You can roll it over to another family member if they also have a disability and they fit the rules of the ABLE account. You can also, if you already have a 529 college plan and you are starting to realize that maybe college is not in the future for your child, you can roll that money over to a 529 ABLE account. It's pretty easy to do that. And then that way the money can be used for much, much more than just college and related expenses. Now, once your child passes away and they have this ABLE account, if there is money left in the ABLE account when they pass away, Medicaid can come back and claim reimbursement on some of the funds that are in there. They feel that if they're giving your child Medicaid, they're giving your child waiver programs, they're helping your child out a lot through their life. And so if there's money left in the ABLE account, Medicaid will be reimbursed through some of that money. So you it's one idea that people have is, maybe we're going to spend from the ABLE account first, or maybe, keep the funds in the ABLE account kind of low just in case. Now, someone asks, if you have a special needs trust already, do you still need an ABLE account? Well, I mean, you don't have to, but here's a reason why it might be beneficial. If you have a special needs trust and you have money over there, you should not ever use your special needs trust to pay for food, shelter. I think it's the next slide yeah, let's get into this. Items that the special needs trust can pay for is a lot. There's a lot of things on this slide. Trips, visits, tickets, paper products, laundry, educational expenses, telephone, blah, blah, blah. This slide is really not nearly as important as this next one. You should not use your special needs trust for rent, mortgage payments, real estate taxes, any utilities like gas, electric, water, and sewage. If you have homeowners insurance that the lender requires, if there are condo charges that include any of those things like your utilities, you should never use your special needs trust for cash or for food. If you do, you will cause a 1/3 reduction to your SSI benefits. So here's how I think of it and how it's clear in my mind is that the special needs trust, there is no limit on how much money you can put into it, but you should not use it on these items. Don't use your special needs trust for these things, but put as much money in there as you want. On the other hand, we have the ABLE account. There's a limit on how much money you can put into the ABLE account, but you can use it for these items and anything else your child needs. So what we see a lot of times is that large amounts of money, like your life insurance or your investment account, when you pass away, will go to the special needs trust. Smaller amounts, like overflowing SSI, like maybe you're getting SSI and it is being put into your child's bank account each month, and you're taking some out to pay their room and board or their rent. But the rest of it is sitting there in their bank account and it's starting to grow and it's getting close to $2,000 and your child can't have $2,000. So what do? You can scooch some of that money or you can transfer, once your SSI payment comes through, you can transfer it over to the ABLE account. It's probably more work then it's worth to transfer small amounts to the special needs trust and to deal with it that way. But you can transfer money from the special needs trust to the ABLE and use it that way. It's just important to keep in mind where you can put money and how you can spend that money. And of course, we're here to help you with all of those. So I think I've answered both the question, why do you need both a special needs trust and an ABLE account? And I think I've answered the question, do SSI payments go to the ABLE account? They don't go there directly, but you can move them over once you get them. So one thing that we know is keeping you awake at night probably is once you're gone, who is going to take care of your loved one? So again, planning early is so important, not just in terms of being able to save a lot for their future care needs, but in building your team and in building those relationships so that your child knows these people who are going to step up to help before that time even comes. There's going to be so much going on that the fear and anxiety of you being gone will be greatly helped by them knowing the people who are stepping in to help them in the future. So plan now. Think about what's going to happen after high school. There are educational options. We have lists, we've done webinars. There are a lot of great educational options out there beyond high school. There are vocational options. You know, the Texas Workforce Commission has some great programs, and there are other great programs in the community that will help your child find gainful employment. There are residential options, whether it be something like the Next Step Transition Center, which offers ISS and day programs, or if it's a residential community where your loved one might go to live and work, there are a lot of opportunities. So check into those early, find out what might be a good fit for you, and get on the waiting list if there is a waiting list for those opportunities as well. You don't want your child just to graduate from high school to the sofa. So think about it in advance, what you want for your child. And you want to think about, you know, a lot of people automatically assume that a sibling will take care of your special child. Well, you know, maybe they're all about it now. Maybe it sounds like a great idea to everybody, including your children. But maybe in the future, your child who would be the one being taken care of, let's say Jacob, all of a sudden he might have some resentment towards his sibling who is trying to step into the role of parent, and you've been my sibling all this time and now you want to be my parent. Or maybe the sibling who is taking care of your loved one with a disability feels a sense of obligation that they didn't really realize how hard it was that they were signing up for, and now they've got their own life and their own job and their own children, and they're feeling a little bit resentful about it too. So just make careful consideration before you allow a sibling to be in charge of another sibling. Let's see what questions we have coming in before I go to the next slide. So to keep the SSI benefit, does this mean that your child can never have over $2,000 under his or her name? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are, for SSI, there's the income limit, that's $1,550 a month, and there's the asset limit of $2,000. So even if this is a bank account that has your name and your child's name, it cannot go over $2,000. If your child has their own bank account, never allow it to go over $2,000. The only place that a child can have money and still be able to get SSI is in their ABLE account or in their special needs trust. What if I'm a single parent and there's no other siblings? Where will the child go? So There's no other parents, there's no siblings. There are a lot of fantastic programs out there. You don't have to panic because there are residential communities, there are state-run places. I hate to use the word facility, even though that's what they're called, but there are state-run places, there are private places. Now, they can be expensive, and that's why it's so important to plan ahead and to think about life insurance being left to your child's trust that can then pay for the residential communities. We have done several webinars with different residential communities where they come in and tell us who they are and who they serve and all of that. And then we help you look at your comprehensive financial plan to figure out how you can pay for those and how much your child needs. What if the RSDA is put into my personal checking account? So we're talking about what if the benefit, it doesn't matter what acronym we call it, SSI, SSDI, RSDA, whatever. What if the money just goes directly to me? That's okay. There is a thing called being the representative payee for your child, where you sign up and you say, I'm going to be their representative payee. You can just pay me the money. That should be fine. And they have that set up that way for a reason. Now, it can get a little bit complicated if they need to audit things and there's your money and there's your child's money and which is your spending and which is your child's spending. Sometimes people like to have it a little cleaner by having a separate account that is just for their child, and then using other things to help with that overflow amount if that ever builds up too much. So either way, it's up to you. It's super complicated. Well, if you do have a super complicated situation, we are happy to give you a free consultation. As a matter of fact, we do free consultations for everybody, and we're going to get to that. Looks like I need to hurry up a little bit. Okay. You should all be on the waiting list for the Texas Medicaid waivers. If you are not on the waiting list, you need to get on as soon as possible. When I first started in this business, only 3-4 years ago, we used to tell people that the waiting list for the Texas waiver programs were 15 to 17 years. Now they're telling us to say that the waiting lists are more like 20 to 25. Tracy, what have you seen on this? Do you know what the waiting list time is now?
It it is what you said. It's about 20 years now. And
Yes.
I was just getting back on and unmuting myself so I could just follow up on what you just said about getting on the waiting list. It is so, so important. Even if you don't think that, your child may need any services as they mature and get older, it does not hurt to get on the list. It does not hurt to get an assessment done by your local disability authority. It's just a little bit out time out of your life, but I promise you in the future, one way or another, you will be glad you did it.
I would say even just knowing what I know now, I am beyond my childbearing or rearing years. But if I had a baby right now, I would probably be tempted just to sign up on the list just because it's 25 years. And
I
then,
agree. I
you know,
agree.
your child does not need, you don't have to prove anything until your child's name comes up on the list.
That's
So,
right.
why not? Why not sign them up? Except for the fact that then we're going to be saying the list is 30 years long. But um,
Yeah.
but the way it works, so if your child might qualify for MDCP class or DBMD, there is this phone number. Now, what are those? Who qualifies for them? MDCP, the first one is for medically dependent children. That waiver program serves a much smaller community, so not everybody needs to sign up for that. And the list is a lot shorter. Let me just quickly show you. Boom, the next slide is going to describe all of these programs for you. Okay, so you can refer to that. Back to this slide, how to sign up. MDCP is a small population. Class, everybody who has any sort of intellectual or developmental disability can get class. So everybody on this call should be signed up for class. And then there's DBMD, that's for deaf and blind and multiple disabilities. So your child has to be deaf and blind and have something else to be able to qualify for that. Again, a small population fits that one. Now, the next few, HCS is Home and Community Services, Texas Home Living, and CFC Community First Choice. Those are waivers that you will sign up through your local authority. Some people call that your LIDA or LIDA. That stands for your Local Intellectual and Developmental Disability Authority. There's a link on the bottom of this page where you can find out who your local authority is. It goes by counties. And you need to call them and make sure that you are on the waiting list for those waiver programs. And then finally, Star Plus is for people who are 21 and over. So if your child is a little bit older, you can call that number and get them on there. So everybody here should at least do these first two, okay? This page, and I'm going to skip reading over most of it or even talking too much about it, but refer to this one to learn what all of the different waiver programs are and who they serve and finding out which ones your family might qualify for. So we do webinars 2, 3, 4 times a week, and we keep these kinds of things on your radar, thinking about the waivers and the governmental benefits and divorce issues and guardianship and legal matters and how to put together a special needs care plan. We are always here to help you unravel the labyrinth of special needs planning. I'm going to send you this link so that you can go straight to our website events tab. And this is where you can register for any of our upcoming webinars. And then if you're registered, you'll automatically get the recording and the slides, even if you are unable to attend. This is our entire company. We're an independent firm that's located just outside of Houston. We work all across the country, and we're independent, which means that we are not tied to an Edward Jones or a Mass Mutual or one large company like that. It's just a different way of doing business. I'm not going to say better or worse, just different. But what it means is that I feel like it gives me the flexibility to match the services to the client because we offer a wide variety. We are contracted to work with many different providers rather than having a limited number of services and trying to find the right one for the client that way. It gives us a lot more choice and flexibility in helping our clients live their financial dreams. Also, I want you to take a look at all of these smiling faces. Well, all of them except for the owners of the company might be reaching out to you because we want you to schedule your free consultation. So you see how kind we are? Please don't be rude when we call you. We're going to call and ask if you want to schedule your free consultation. This is a Zoom call that usually takes between 30 to 45 minutes. You have your chance to pick our brain, to ask us anything you want about special needs planning. We get to know you and your family a little bit, and then we'll tell you how we work and what we do and what we charge. You could use the QR code for this consultation to schedule it, or you can call us or email, or just wait for us to reach out to you. This slide also shows you links on the bottom to our YouTube channel where all of these webinars live, our Instagram, the podcast, and the Facebook page so that you can find us no matter where you are on social media. Tracy, did you have anything else to add? We need to wrap it up.
Well, I was just answering this last question. Because of the end of the public health emergency. The Center for Medicaid and Medicare has is making sure that everybody renews their Medicaid, and it has been a big issue with a lot of individuals that had continuous coverage. So to answer this last question, I was just typing in that you should reach out to your service coordinator if you have HCS services, because they should be trained at this point on dealing with loss of Medicaid due to the end of the public health emergency and the renewal of all Medicaid individuals. So you should reach out to your service coordinator as well as your HCS provider and let them know what's going on. And then I would also recommend that you take your child and make an appointment to go to the Social Security office and see if you can't also get it somewhat straightened out there.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And
Sure.
again, thank you for having us and being here with us today. Thank you to everybody who has hopped on. Please schedule your free consultation. I promise we don't bite, and our main goal is to help you. We do send out a questionnaire ahead of time to learn about your family, and it is very important that you fill that out for us, at least as much as you possibly can. Some people are uncomfortable with some of the questions, giving us too much information, but I promise we don't sell your info or anything like that. So schedule your consultation. I look forward to talking with you. And again, thank you everybody for being here with me today. Have a great
Thank
week.
you for having me.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
I appreciate all that you do.
Oh, we love doing it. Thank you everybody for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye.